What's up, guys, and welcome back to TGK TV. This is your boy TGK. As you can tell from the title, I'm going to talk about this new G-Unit breakup. What the hell, man? Being a fan since I was, I don't know, when did 50 Cent come out? Late 2002, 2003. Little known fact, I hated 50 Cent when he first came out, right? And then I dug into the story and I was able to relate to parts of his story. And then I love the aggression in his music because it helped me deal with my aggression as a growing up as a kid, because I had a lot of tension built up, man. And then I grew into being a G-Unit fan with Young Buck, Tony Yayo, Lloyd Banks, and then The Game, and then MOP, and then Mobb Deep, and just, you know, I wasn't a big fan of Olivia, to say the least, but, you know, I appreciate the Candy Shops record, you know what I'm saying? So fast forward, right? We know G-Unit broke up, and then they made up again in 2014. Not the full G-Unit. It was a new reunited crew with a Kid and Young Buck. So when Young Buck came back at 2014 in Summer Jam, it was official. There was a G-Unit reunion, and they ended up releasing two EPs. So then we fast forward a little bit to this year. I think it was at the end of last year, the middle of last year. And again, I'm literally skipping so much stuff. For those G-Unit fans out there, you know what it is. And for the non-G-Unit fans that just kind of caught on to this story of Young Buck and 50 Cent, this is what I'm trying to get to. So, Kid gets out of his deal with 50 Cent and G-Unit in the middle of 2018. And for me, I was taken aback by it because it was kind of, all right, just out of nowhere, you're no longer in G-Unit. It's kind of weird. But then again, we've seen it before with MOP and The Game. So then all of a sudden, you know, we saw Uncle Murder, Tony Yayo, and Young Buck still around 50, but we didn't see Lloyd Banks around 50. And again, as we know, Lloyd Banks has been having his issues with 50 Cent. In this track called Crazy that 50 released earlier last year, he talked about where he doesn't talk to Lloyd Banks anymore, and who knows how long that record has been since he recorded it. So now we're at the point where Lloyd Banks is no longer with you, and I think 50 Cent had posted something about that. Again, trying to get to this point about Young Buck, I'm getting there. So now, fast forward, the whole transsexual thing with Young Buck comes out, and you know, it seemed like 50 distanced himself from Young Buck because you didn't see them hanging out anymore, and you kind of didn't see them hanging out, you know, before then, because when Young Buck was around 50 from 2014 to 2017, you saw them quite often around each other. And then this year, you just haven't really seen that. And then now the transsexual stuff comes out, and you really don't see 50 around, and even 50 clowned him for it. So now we fast forward to 2019, where we're at currently. And Young Buck does this post about, you know, defamation man, blah, 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 and he goes in on 50 without saying 50's name. And then here we are again. As a G-Unit fan, we're in the midst of another full G-Unit breakup. And it's disappointing, man. I will be releasing a record on where I'll talk about where 50 Cent could have been the greatest rapper of all time. And I'm gonna take my time with that one. But however, G-Unit is probably the most successful rap group ever. You think about all the platinum records that they sold as a group, not as a group, but as individuals and as a group. You got The Game with the documentary. You got Lloyd Banks with Hunger for More. You got Young Buck with Cashville. You got Tony Yayo with Thoughts of a Predicate Felon. You got 50 Cent with Give Should I Try and The Massacre, Curtis. You got all of these records that sold millions of records. There's no other rap crew that you could literally point that they had individual success the way G-Unit did. And then, if we could only imagine if The Game didn't have his issues with 50 and they were able to just kind of keep it together, just imagine what G-Unit would have been in the mass, you know, influence that they would have had on The Game. They had a huge influence when they first came out. So fast forward again, we're back to this whole G-Unit breakup. So now what G-Unit is, if G-Unit is a thing, it's only Uncle Murder, Tony Yayo, and 50 Cent. And now it seems like Young Buck is very upset. Speaking of the defamation, apparently he got an email of a defamation lawsuit on him. Now, if you think about it from a few perspectives, right? Think about it from 50 Cent as a businessman. You think about it from Young Buck as a friend of 50, and then you think about it from a street level, right? Now, we know 50 and Buck had their issues early on where that phone call was released, where Young Buck was crying, so on and so forth. And we do know about all the transactions where 50 helped Young Buck with his IRS situation. And then we talk about multiple times where Young Buck even admitted where he ain't gonna sign a deal, even if 50 dropped him more than. 50 always looked out for him and got him his deal and helped him out. The thing is, now we're at this place where 50 Cent hit him with a defamation lawsuit, and Young Buck is claiming that he hasn't been paid for all of his quote unquote royalties. So let's look at it from the business perspective, okay? 50 Cent, the businessman, he has G-Unit, he has his group, he has his persona, right? He's this gangster, or quote unquote, he's a gangster rapper that is very successful, that has multiple businesses that does well for him, that G-Unit as a label as well does well, as far as everything that he does outside of just doing records or music or whatever the case may be. Think about it from this perspective with the whole transsexual thing. 50 Cent may have sent that defamation because it hurts 50 Cent's brand. Whatever, if you think it's successful or not anymore, the G-Unit brand, it does hurt him from a street gangster perspective. If you think about it from that perspective, right? We know 50 Cent and the whole G-Unit crew, they're very ruthless. They don't give a damn when it comes to like how you feel about stuff, right? And I don't see 50 Cent as a man of the fans, as a people of the fans. I never seen him as that. I just always respected his hustle, respected the way he went about his business. However, G-Unit has never been in tune with caring about fans. I never felt it, but I've always been a big fan of him. So from the business perspective, I can see why 50 did it, because it can hurt his business and hurt his persona and perception amongst his street audience, right? Or even to his other business ventures with his liquor, with his wine that he sells now, and all his other items that he does. The association with Young Buck could hurt him. To be quite honest, we don't want to deal with 50 because of this Young Buck stuff. I could see that from businesses or corporations that endorse or sponsor 50 Cent or G-Unit. Now, from a street perspective, it's your homeboy. You know what I'm saying? 50 Cent and Young Buck, they're supposed to be boys. And, you should have his back. And we know Uncle Murda threw a line at Young Buck with the whole wrap up. And Uncle Murda just don't give a damn. So, was Young Buck hurt by it? I'm pretty sure it was, because he responded to it on one of his songs. So then the thing turns to, well, was it wrong on 50's part to do it? Man, I don't know. It's a tough call. Like, do you outweigh your friendship with him? Or even, are they even friends? Is it more of a business relationship? Because if it's a business relationship, then I see why 50 did it. If they're friends on a street level and all that stuff, because they are, then it is kind of messed up, And then you go on Buck's side of thing. I think Buck handled it poorly. He didn't have to go on Instagram and do all that stuff that he did. But however, sometimes if you have to speak up for yourself, speak up for yourself. It's just unfortunate that this is where we're at as the G-Unit crew. You no longer have Lloyd Banks that's active in the music game. You have Young Buck that's hella active trying to promote these up and coming artists. The Up Next series that he had, and then the whole 10 series with the 10 Bricks, 10 Pints, 10 all. It was a great series. Young Buck's been very active, and he's had that one record that took off, and it's just like damn, what is G-Unit anymore? Uncle Murda doesn't really release stuff, and when he does, it's around the time when he releases his yearly wrap-up. Tony Ayo doesn't do much. 50 Cent doesn't release music. I mean, what is G-Unit anymore? So if I'm Young Buck and I'm getting hit with a defamation, and then you're asking for like this royalties and money and all this stuff, you're caught in the catch-22. You know what I'm saying? It's like now you want to ask for items is in retaliation of the lawsuit. So all in all, it's a bad situation, and as a fan, I'm sick and tired of seeing this. I always wanted G-Unit just to stay together, to be the team or be the group that they could have been. And they could have been the best rap group of all time. I mean, the numbers already say that for them. It's just their longevity as a crew just never manifested itself where they could have potentially gone. Just imagine if Game stuck around. Imagine if Kid was able to get that full support from 50. Imagine where they could have been, man. Imagine where Lloyd Banks could be if he just stayed active and stayed pushing after that Beamer Benz Bentley record. He did Hunger for More too, and just completely just stopped. We've been waiting for Cold Corner 3 for 6 years now. All in all, this is legitimately the end of G-Unit. It's probably the end of 50 Cent making any music. And it's probably the end of Young Buck having a career too. It's sad. As a G-Unit fan, I'm completely disappointed by it. I mean, you would think these grown men can put their issues aside and act like grown men. But I guess it's asking for too much from 40-year-olds, right? But then again, you know, that's 50 Cent's career to troll and mock people. But the whole defamation lawsuit, I mean, it's how one perceives it, how one looks at it, how one takes it. There's 3 different ways to look at it. I don't know which one's the right one, you know. I'm not a businessman, I don't know businesses, so I'm not, but I do understand the perspective that was taken to do that. And you won't see 50 Cent talking about it because he has the best lawyers. And Young Buck acting the way he was acting out of emotion, that was probably the wrong move on his end. He should have just kept it quiet. So now it's all out there. It's all up to everyone's perception of how they perceive this news. And again, at the end of the day, it's unfortunately really the end of G-Unit. So I would like to hear your comments. I'd like to see what y'all have, what y'all's perspective. Is my perspective way off, or am I like right on point? I want to hear from y'all. Let me know what you think. I know this is a different video from my cowboy stuff, but hey, I'm a big fan of hip hop, and 50 Cent's my favorite rapper, and G-Unit's my favorite rap group. And again, this just hurts as a fan. So it's been your boy TGK. Again, I'm looking forward to hear what y'all got to say. It's been your boy. I'm out. Oh, and let me hit that. You can say the rest.